Hello and welcome everybody to Around the Battleground. My name is LHS, and this is a very, very special episode of Around the Battleground. It's our 1 year anniversary having been picked up by UGC. So let's just give like a big round of applause for us for sticking around this long. Thank you for the round of applause. This has been a really special time. I've loved working with UGC. Not only has it been a Smite endeavor, it's also been they brought me out for the Halo event, and hopefully there's some more opportunities that come forward in the future. So thanks everybody for being so supportive of Around the Battleground. It's been a long journey for me, starting out 2 years ago at this point. 3 years ago, yeah, season 3. Where's something like that? We've been around a long time, basically. Starting out with Retake SPL, having a lot of fun with Goremizer and Freight Train, and then going to Couch Talk SPL for a bit, and then now Around the Battleground. And it's like a big improvement. And I mean, if you go back and watch those early days versus what we got now, it's night and day difference. So thanks everybody for allowing me and allowing us to kind of do the show week in and week out. Means the world for me, for everybody to kind of tune in. But that's enough of the kind of gushing about that. We tried to reach out to a few people to get them on the show for nostalgia purposes. Obviously Goremizer's busy. Freight Train, nobody really knows where Freight Train is anymore. He's off in Fortnite land, building a bridge or something. And then obviously Culture has kind of stopped doing some of the esports hosting stuff. So we couldn't bring back any of our previous hosts, which was shame. J-Mac as well. His schedule just, not able to be here. We might try to do like something down the road here, a pre-recorded thing, but just unfortunately not able to get them for the live show. However, we do have somebody for our live show today. It is the first time we've had a live guest on the show in a good while. We have a good friend of mine. I hope he doesn't mind me calling him a good friend. I don't want to, put him in bad company. We've got the support for Obey Alliance. We've got Mineral here to join me for today's show. Mineral, how are you doing, bud?
I'm doing great.
Oh, look at that big, beautiful smile, man. If you don't know, Mineral's a little nervous about being here, so everybody don't mention it, don't say anything, just let him be him, and we'll welcome into our home and our hearts, make him feel real comfortable.
I appreciate it.
We've been trying to do this interview now for how long? Have you been in the SPL? Like
a couple of months, yeah.
So we've been trying to do this for at least a couple months, and just we've gotten close like hours before, like, and then all of a sudden something's come up every time, and that's not been great. But today we finally made it happen, and I'm glad to finally have you on. And what a better time to have you on than like you guys having like done something that is kind of new to your squad as a whole. Winning. Yeah. You guys have like accrued a couple dubs here and there, and like I don't know, it's got to be a completely different team environment you're coming into from like the one that was there previously before the roster change. So like how does it feel to be on a winning SPL roster?
It's been actually pretty good. When I come in, I didn't really expect much, but it's been really good. It's been like a really good environment to be around. Everybody's happy, everybody's excited, and we're just trying to see what else we can do.
I think a lot of people kind of expected you to come in and they just made a change with Ionic and they brought in this scrub kid Mineral. Like, who the hell is he? What's he gonna do? And kind of written you guys off again as like being a bottom team. But I think you've kind of proven that the squad is better off with you. I think what most importantly, what kind of gets lost in translation of like the roster change itself is you guys made one roster. Well, I guess you guys made the 2 roster changes, right? Lasberg went and Ionic. But having made that change, both parties who have like left the team, like you and LG both, have progressed. Like they were the right changes to make for both teams, and both teams
Yeah.
have, without a doubt, gotten better. And I think that kind of gets lost in translation a little bit. Like it's not that anybody was a bad player per se here. I mean, Laz were playing out of position, right? Not ideal. And then having the slow start once he moved back to jungle, and then Ionic just not fitting in. I feel like what I was hearing and what I was gathering most was it was just, you know, stop me, everybody, if you've heard this before, but Weekend was clashing with styles of like shot calling and how to play the game is kind of, you know, what I was hearing between him and Ionic more than anything. So, you know, coming in, you need that, just everybody on the same page, basically. And I think, you know, from what I can see, you guys are definitely moving in that direction.
Yeah, I think just with like Ionic, it was just personalities meshing. Like it just didn't go too well. And then I think everybody's just beating themselves up over scrims way too hard, and then it just started translating into SPL where it just wasn't happening. Like the wins weren't happening, and then everybody just started to like lose confidence in each other as a thing.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting too, because, you know, if you listen to all the talking, if you listen to people like me, right, you look at, you know, the Obey roster, and, you know, from the first phase you look like, all right, well, obviously Lasbro wasn't doing well in mid, right? So we get Moswell. I up until recently I would have said Moswell is unproven. I think Moswell has done like a terrific job. He has been a hard carry that you guys have like desperately needed, and that's been amazing to kind of watch. And I'm eating my words back on like all the kind of criticisms I've given him, and he's like proven me wrong. And then you look at Wowie. The last good play I remember Wowie making was when he like had a unofficial pentakill on Cernanos like 2 years ago, right? Like that's really the last time I remember Wowie popping off. And then Ducky, God rest his soul, Ducky just between last year and first phase, just getting just fucked. Like let's just put it like let's be blunt here. I mean, the man, I think, it had the most games in the SPL against King Arthur when Arthur was broken. Like the man just did not have a good time. And so you look at all that, and then for like the roster, be like, all right, no, I think those guys are great, and just make the one support change. And then like, yeah, you guys really have come together. Having like talked to you a little bit, you know, before, like during the tryouts process and all of that, I think, you know, one of the bigger things that you were kind of concerned with, maybe concerns like wrong word, you were just like, it was, you know, a factor in you learning and growing into the SPL was a bit of the shot calling, right? How has that gone for you? Is that, you know, has it been easier than expected and anticipated to kind of grow into the shot calling roles, or has it been, you know, has it been tough?
It's definitely been tough because there's just certain situations where I don't like feel comfortable. So I'm trying to like break out of that shell and just be able to step up for my team. So it's definitely a process, and I've definitely been working on it. So I even like ask Kassir like after every scrim just to like look over games and comms and then see what I could do better every time.
Is he the first coach you've had, or have you had coaches before?
I would say legitimate coach. Yeah, like we've always had like somebody to help with like the drafts here and there, or just like a friend like chiming in. But he's definitely like a legitimate coach, like first legitimate coach I've ever had. So yeah, he's definitely been a great help.
Yeah, how has that transition been? Because I feel like a lot, like, you know, having done some coaching myself, you know, you always have these kids who are like, I've never had a coach before. This is amazing. Like I'm actually being told like in like how I could change and be different and everything. Getting that, how important has getting that type of feedback at such a high level kind of affected your play?
It's definitely affected me a lot. I definitely noticed a change from like SML to like SPL. Like it's just a lot of small changes that you have to make that actually make a big difference. And Kassir has like helped a lot, even when he was back here in the States. He kept like the mood light when things are going rough. Just a great guy to have around, and he's always looking to help the team improve in every way possible.
And speaking of like having gone from playing at a high minor league level and everything like that, where it is all online and everything, and then now moving into a team house, and obviously not everybody's there. Kissier he's not there anymore, and then Kurt is coming and going. So in the house it's what you, Wowie, and Ducky.
It's just me, Wowie, and Ducky right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
Maswell also like flies in.
Yeah, Moswell as well. How has kind of that impacted like being on a team? So yeah, like I know you in particular have like ran with a very specific set of dudes in the Smite scene for a long time, and then kind of going away from that and basically getting introduced in this new group and living with them. How has that kind of changed and been different for you between being online running with your dudes and then now like being in this team home aspect?
Yeah, so like when in minor league, it's pretty it's rough to like to talk about the issues that you're having like as a team, but like when making the switch to SPL and like coming over to the house, it's super easy to like talk about what issues you're having like with certain aspects of the game to like the boys like Wowie and Ducky like specifically like every time like we have the like a rough game, we like talk about it and like see what we can do better, like what we need from each other, just stuff like that. It's a huge change from like SMO because when you're not like actually talking to somebody day by day, like you don't really like try to keep up appearances like on like Discord calls or something like that. Like you always just try to avoid the situation if it was bad and then come back the next day just forgetting about it. So it was like hard to fix an issue, but here in the team house, it's definitely easier to like see the issues and improve on it better as a team.
Has it been kind of like any sort of like culture shock here between like who, because you run with the e-boys, you run with the Smite e-boys, meme kids, sad boy hours, whatever you want to call it. Like there's everybody knows like there's a very specific feel and vibe there, right? Ducky's not that guy. Like Hythe, Ducky are on very different sides of the spectrum, right? So like getting into that, like how has that been? Is it like is there moments where they just kind of look at you and you're like, the fuck did you just say? Like,
I'd say I'm a little more tamed, but the thing is like hanging out with Ducky, he's like such an easygoing guy that it's just like a part of the family kind of thing, like the boys. We do tend to make fun of Ducky sometimes when he says something out of the ordinary.
So he's the one saying something out of the ordinary?
Yeah, definitely, all the time.
All right, you got to give us a story. You got to give us an example here.
There was something that happened last night. It wasn't like out of the ordinary, but it was just outright hilarious. So Ducky said he needed to use the bathroom, and I told him, can he get something upstairs for me real quick before he does? So he couldn't find it, and all of a sudden you hear upstairs just somebody running out of their mind. So he just comes running downstairs to use the bathroom, and he's like, I couldn't find it. Goes into the bathroom, is like, there we go. And me and Wow, we just start laughing our brains out. Like we literally couldn't control ourselves.
Speaking of bathroom stories, the Obey house was subject to a great controversy surrounding a bathroom. Did that ever get settled?
Did it get settled? Honestly, after it was tweeted, nothing ever really happened about it. I wasn't even the person to find it. It was Wowie. Because
it is gone now, correct? Like it's not just still sitting there.
It is. It's definitely gone. It is definitely gone.
That's good. There were so many little funny things. Like I feel like Kurt's been on a couple teams now where like I just want to be a fly on the wall, like because I feel like you guys, Kurt's the old man, right? Like he's like my favorite part about last year was like Hythe and Bobby teaching Weekend how to shit post and like shit posting for
Yeah.
him. Like that was really great content. And then like now he's with, I feel like Wowie's a quiet guy publicly. I feel like Ducky's kind of like a
Mhm.
quiet guy publicly, but I feel like off camera, behind closed doors, y'all are some funny motherfuckers. And I feel
Yeah.
like it's just a good vibe to be around.
Yeah. Like during scrims, everybody just comes out and just like cracks jokes on each other. It's just like random situations. Even Mazel, like you'd never expect him to come out. It's definitely like a really good environment, really chill. Everybody is having fun with each other.
Does that make, you know, growing as a team and as a player easier, or I don't know, like it, what am I trying to say? Because like you've got teams where it is a lot more, you know, like I don't know, zeros, right? Like that. I don't like, I'm not gonna walk around like zeros where it's like we're focused, we're doing this work, and
Yeah.
then it's very separated, right? When it's
Mhm.
time to get down, it's you just do it, and then there's very separated hours. We're like, okay, now we're sitting around and we can talk, but never the two shall meet. Is
Mhm.
it? Have you well, have you ever been a part of a team where it was like very serious? I don't think you ever have.
I've actually never been on a team that's like super 100% serious.
Yeah.
But like it was always like a group of friends who like really wanted to win and show like what we could, like what we were capable of. That's what it's always been, and it's sort of similar here, where you just have people like wanting to get better, wanting to show that they're actually capable of being in the SPL, and it's not very different. Like obviously, just like with Maswell Weekend like not being in the house, but it's basically the same thing for me. Just having a group of friends that I talk to every day and just playing with friends. So it's definitely been like an easy transition, I want to say.
Has there, so living in a house with all these guys, you know,
Mhm.
is there your own time and get away? Is that even necessary? Because like I think about, you know, going into a team house and everything, right? And then all of a sudden it'd be like,
Yeah.
you know what? Fuck Wowie. I've had enough of his flannel shirt wearing ass. I need to get out of here. Like, but it's a house. Like you're all very, you know,
Yeah.
close in. Like, is that something that like a happens, or you guys still like, you know, you guys are able to just spend 24/7 with each other?
We always just spend time with each other. Like even if there's like a bad thing that happens, like the person just takes like a couple minute break and then we all just like talk about it. There's never really like huge issues that come about where somebody just like, can't spend like a day with someone. It's always like talked out. Definitely closer than it's all expected to be.
Okay. And for you personally, how has the change in level, like player level, so like going out there, being coming from the SML, going to the SPL, like going up against, you know, these, you know, pro players who have been pros for forever now, like how have you kind of fit into that? Like was there any kind of like stage fright for you during your first games coming to LAN? Like I mean that in of itself is a big step
Hmm.
up, right? Going from, you know, all online play to now being at LAN every time. How have you like adapted to being in the bigger pond?
Yeah. So like first coming in, like my worry wasn't really about playing like these better players. It was all about just being comfortable and like where I am playing because it's completely different from where in SML you wake up in the morning and then you're playing for like a couple hours and then that's it. And instead of just like you having to go to the studio, like prep with the team, and then you're like sitting face to face with the other players, it's completely different. Uh, yeah, but my biggest thing was just trying to get comfortable like while playing in the Skillshare studio.
And I think you've done better than everyone has kind of, and everybody anticipated. A lot of
Yeah,
coming in was like, oh, they just made the one change. What's he really gonna? Well, they just swapped him for Yannick. He's kind of unproven. What's he gonna do? What's gonna happen? And I think when you're not playing Guardians, you have looked
yeah,
really, really good.
yeah. It's definitely for sure. I love Guardians, but it's just like the play style with the team. It doesn't really seem to fit. But I mean, we're still working on that. The thing,
Yeah, who needs Guardians anyway? I mean,
yeah, you're
you
right,
try. They
Guardians.
didn't work in support. They didn't work in
The
jungle.
jungle.
You
Yeah,
don't want to put him. Ducky already gets bad matchups in lane anyway. You don't want to put him on something that has to sit back. Ugh.
yeah. He was done with that. I remember
Yeah.
that was like the first thing where he just didn't want to play Guardians, and I respect it
Yeah.
honestly. Just throwing on something like it carries. But
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't really like. I knew like people didn't really have much expectations for me like coming in. It was always just like, is he gonna be shit or is he gonna be good? And after the SK said it wasn't really looking hot, but we were in positions to take games, which is was a good note for me to like take in.
I
Like going
think
into the next weeks.
I think with the SK set too, people kind of don't have context because I mean you that was the game you had like just a ton of deaths, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
it was like on
but
Gab, and they were picking me off.
Yeah, but there's like the context of like, okay, why were you in those positions? What happened? And just unfortunate. It's like going back to last year, like what was happening with like Bobby, right? It's like, yeah,
Mhm.
Bobby's like 0-11, but every time he's died, he's like put his team in a position to do something. And you're like, there's always like, I see the idea, like why you were going where you were going, and like what just happened.
Yeah,
So I think
it was
if
just
you like broke
unfortunate.
down and watched stuff, it was just unfortunate, and you could see. I mean, you weren't Wubbin, right? You didn't have
Yeah,
zero positioning and awareness, like right. You like
yeah,
there was mechanics and positioning knowledge there. So it's like, all right, we'll see what he can do when things kind of break your way. And I think we've seen. I mean, you guys beat Dig. I mean, how that's got to be huge, right? Like internally,
yeah,
not only for the team, beating a top team, but like you coming in and like you just beat, Tricks and Cuvo and Variety and Atarac. Like you beat this team that has been at the top of the game for a long time. How does that feel like? Thinking back like a year ago where you were and then where you were at that moment, like it's got to be
yeah.
unreal.
It's definitely unreal. And I remember just like my friends like telling me when I finally told them that they made it, they were super excited. And like just looking back at it, like I never really thought I would be in the position like that I am now, like being able to beat tricks and stuff. And honestly, it's like super humbling to
Mm-hmm.
just sit back and like realize like I was in this super rough spot in SMO, basically like getting kicked off of like TCK, and it was just super unfortunate. And then finally making it to SPL where the boys really gave me a shot to do so. So it's definitely pretty exciting that I'm able to like show what I am truly capable of.
Yeah, I can't wait to see just your continued growth. I think this Obey
Yeah,
squad, phase 2 in particular, there's been a lot of growth and a lot of promise. Like there was a lot of that shown in phase 1. Just everything didn't come together, and I think it's kind of nuts. And I'll be the first one to say this. I think Weekend has had, I believe, the best year of his career this year. Uh,
mm-hmm.
he's just been playing out of his mind, and now that the team is kind of firing on multiple cylinders, it enables him to not have to like be the win condition, right? Moswell is a win condition now. Ducky's been able to be a win condition. You guys are like spreading out the carry responsibilities a little bit there, and that's all the difference. And the fact that we know that going into Worlds, we're not going to have a tank meta, so Weekend is
Yeah,
actually going to be potentially good for an entire season. That's got to
Yeah.
feel great when he's on your team. And I think you guys really do have a pretty great shot, of getting two worlds. I think you and LG both. Obviously, SSG still has like a lot to go through, and whether or not that Bara mid move actually pans out, like I don't know that that's going to be an effective option,
Mhm.
moving forward. I don't know. Like I still feel like there's another meta change happening, right? And I like
Yeah.
it's going to be really fun to see who at the playing bracket LAN who adapts to that and what we're going to see going forward. And I think you
Yeah.
guys, as long as it doesn't go tank meta, you guys should be amazing. You guys should be. I really just don't want a tank meta to show up because I think that would completely turn the league upside down, and I'd rather it not.
Yeah. The meta right now has been super great to us. So hopefully it doesn't turn into that. But
Yeah.
even if it does, I think we'll be well off, honestly.
All right. So I know we were kind of pressed for time with you because you got a thing coming up at 7 you got to go to over, but I'm going to use you to the fullest. I'm going to make you my co-host for the rest of the show. So we're going to move on from our mineral interview. We're going to move over to talking about the SML. We're going to start with EU. Have you been following the SML at all?
And ASML from time to time. EU, I really haven't been able to like dive
All right,
deep into.
this is going to be perfect then. All right. So looking at our SML EU, looking at the standings, we got Simplicity at the top, 6 wins, 2 losses. We've got Out Cold now in that second place spot, 6 wins, 3 losses, and Flashpoint 5-3, Queso 5-4, Horizon 3-6, and Exordium 1-8. So things are really kind of changing up for the EU scene a little bit. We started off the year with Flashpoint and Simplicity being the far and away front runners of that region. Now we've got Out Cold finally kind of waking up. Breeze, having looked really rough for a while, is finally like he's played more than like 100 hours of Smite, and now he looks like he kind of knows what he's doing, which is really great to see. And then they've also got what is it? Is Streak Up's Out Cold's ADC, or is it Spudio? Spudio, right? Spudio looks like he's grown into the role a little bit. I know him and Streak Up both have had a lot of hype around them. I think Streak Up's had the more success so far, but I do think that Spudio has had we see it a lot in like solo lane, right? The last few years we've had like you've had Final K, Solo Troll, and as the guys who've made it, and then the guys who didn't make it, you have like Uzi and Mando, right? At different points in time, all of those guys had the same hype around them, and then obviously only 2 of those guys have actually kind of delivered on that. And I think we were kind of having the same kind of runoff in EU with the ADCs. Do you think that Out Cold is going to finally like put it together? I mean, this is Pretty Prime, this is Dimmy, this is Frosty Egg. This is a squad that's been here before, but up until this point hasn't been able to win. Is it finally like, oh, it's finally getting a world, we're trying now?
Yeah, I think I think they've always had like the firepower, but it was super unfortunate for them in phase 1 when they had like Emilito support, and then Emil just not wanting to play anymore, and then they just like having to scratch for supports, and then finally picking up Breeze coming in from Hots. So I think they just needed time to adjust and like actually break him into Smite, and then they would always have that like fighting chance, because Pretty Prime and Demi, insanely good players, and also always thought Spuddy was pretty good. It was just he just wasn't clashing with previous teammates. So I think they actually always had a shot. They just needed to get some practice in.
If you were a betting man, who would you put your money on as being the second team to make it out of EU? I think obviously we can say Simplicity is going to make it in. They made it through the first time. I think they're going to make it through the second time. Between Out Cold and Flashpoint, though, so Flashpoint still has a game to play on Out Cold. I believe this was their bye week, but this Flashpoint squad, no matter what their name has been in the past, they have never finished a year strong. You look at last year, they ran EUSML up until the last set, the last phase or whatever, and then they let Insignum kind of pass them by and went to land. That in a nutshell is what Flashpoint's done every single year of existence. Whatever happens, the squad just crumbles in the end. Do you think they kind of break that trend? They already went to one land this year. You know, they lost like a game or two right before land and then won. I think they beat out Cold and like submitted their place. But Flashpoint is that team that teeters on there. Can they put it together for the first time in this team's history, or are they going to repeat history?
I don't know. I think it might just be a repeat history because even when they were at land, they didn't have Johnny. So like, I don't know. I think it's all going to be on his back because he is like the carry for that team. It's always like seemed that way. So I do think they have the skill for it, but I don't know if they actually will. I think Spuddy on the squad definitely make it over them.
Yeah, I can't ignore history, right? Like I really do genuinely love this Flashpoint squad. I have been rooting for them since they were the last team that were promoted up into the SPL. Like back when it was Burrito and Poppies, making it in the SPL and getting stomped every game. I have liked what I've seen. I like their tape. I like how they play the game. And I just like the fact that they're kind of the minorities in Smite, right? They're the Eastern European guys. The only reason some of these guys have not been put on a team is because they have their English isn't the best, right? Like these are guys who have like thick Russian accents or like speak primarily not English or anything like that. So to see them kind of come in, and the same thing with like Sanguine, right? I love it when the outside regions kind of come in and have a shot. But Out Cold is just finally like they're the giant that's finally like stretched and woken up a little bit and like, all right, time to come out and like teach these kids how to play Smite again. Like, I don't know. I hate to say that's what's happened because I look at Dimmy and I look at Frosty and I look at Prime. I look at those guys. And I'm like, there's no way that they are happy with the performance, right? The Pretty Prime especially, he's not the guy who's going to come out and be like, yeah, I think we're fine, we're the bottom of the league, we're not getting any wins, I'm pretty okay with that, I cashed in this paycheck. Pretty Prime wants to win, right? Like that's him and Dimmy both, like these are like world championship caliber guys, Dimmy having won 2 worlds. But
yeah,
I really kind of do think that it's this case where they just like, nah, we just won't care till it's right before Worlds, and then we'll hit it hard. Like I don't know, am I wrong for trying to think that way?
no, definitely not wrong. I've always thought like they cared. It's just not the right conditions with like the support issue in phase 1. But I think they finally have their footing now. They're definitely like looking for wins and they're hungry for that Worlds qualifiers. So I think they definitely pull out the W.
I do think I agree with you. I think Out Cold is just they're looking strong, and it's just Flashpoint's gonna self-destruct. I mean, that's death, taxes, Flashpoint self-destructing. That's just what happens every year. Yeah. Moving on, we'll look at the NASML now. A lot of fluctuations coming in with NASML lately. So this week we have a new #1 team. Sanguine beat Hype Unit. So Hype Unit has lost 2 weeks in a row now. First to Armada, now to Sanguine. So we got Sanguine at the top, 7 wins, 2 losses. Armada 6-2. Hype Unit 6-3, and then Cryptic Exilium, Risky Behavior, nobody cares about. They have no shot at LAN at this point. Exilium has their 2nd win coming over Risky Behavior, and we'll talk about Risky Behavior here in a minute. I can't wait to get Mineral's thoughts and opinions on that. But this is a really, really close race for NA. Armada had some changes, that we weren't sure if they were going to pan out, if they were going to be the same strong team. Hype Unit, I don't think anybody thought Hype Unit was going to be as good as they came out to be. But I think ultimately them coming down to third here is them kind of regressing to the norm. I don't think they were the number one team. I think every time they beat Armada already, they beat Armada and Sanguine already, I believe. I think Sanguine had to forfeit their game, or no, they did get. It got reported as they forfeited, but Sanguine did lose the Hype Unit, and I think like every time they beat Sanguine and Armada, I was like, damn, that's surprising still. And I think now that we've gone back around, like, okay, now they got beat, now they're not shit hot, now people have tape on them, they're a known commodity now, and I think them kind of going back to third is regressing to who they are. What do you think? Is Hype Unit a number one team, or are they kind of are you gonna side with me that like they're where they need to be now?
Kind of biased because Sop's the boy, also Benny. Honestly, I think they have the talent there. The skill level is there to be first, but I think there's just issues happening with the team right now that it's just causing them to just overthink things, and they're starting to like freak out about small shit. And I don't know. I think they are starting to like lose the hype that they had from the beginning of the phase. But I mean,
so you're telling me that there's a Benny roster that is having internal problems?
Yeah.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you one bit, Mineral.
Kind of does just happen that way, huh?
It does kind of just happen that way.
Yeah.
How many? Benny, I love you. I'll preface it with that, right? Love Benny. Mineral, I know you love Benny too. How many teams at this point has Benny been a part of and then not a part of anymore?
Way too many.
Way too many. So and it always seems to happen later on in the year too. It's the same thing with kind of like Flashpoint, I feel like too. Well, maybe not with Benny. I feel like Benny's been kicked early in the year too. Like the people have been like, no, I'm not dealing with this. Like,
yeah, it had I don't know, it's just unfortunate situations that happen. And I think when put in a situation of losing, he kind of gets very emotional and just overthinking things. So I hope they get their shit together because I love them to death, and I want to see them over at NET also.
I would love to see Sanguine Hype Unit. I agree. I think Mollusk got the raw end of the deal with LG. I think he was a really good jungle, and especially with where the meta is and everything like that, I think he had the opportunity to do really well. I think he kind of got scapegoated. Like, remember, it's like back in the day, the thing that comes up immediately to mind is, when Flashpoint was an NA org, and they had, what was it? Mirage? Is there? Yeah.
And then like Sheikah.
They had Mirage and Sheikah, and they like lost a couple games, and they're like, all right, I know how to fix the problem. We'll kick Sheikah for Man Ray. And I was like, what? Like, what just happened?
It was also too where they had Dante, and then they kicked Dante for Walrus. So yeah, I do think Walrus did like top off, but
I do think Walrus did play well, but it was like Man Ray, like over like that was definitely like him being scapegoated. And I think Mollusk got scapegoated on that team. Like, oh, we're not winning. We'll have to get rid of Mollusk. And then I don't know. I would have loved to be able to see what Mollusk does on that team with Ionic, right? And maybe it was another case of that, personalities not meshing and things like that. But I feel like Mollusk always showed a lot of potential, and especially his set. I think like he's probably the best set player I've ever seen, and set being even slipping through in SPL games. I think he really could have made a run there. But you look at it top to down, Hype Unit is full of players that have had a lot of, like we just talked about, the guys with a lot of potential, but have they delivered on it yet? Right. I think that's Hype Unit up and down. There's a lot of those types of guys. And can they close it out? The last 2 weeks in a row, losing to Sanguine and Armada doesn't look great, but you still got to figure they've got Exilium again. They've got Cryptic again. I think to close out the year, they've got Cryptic, Exilium, Risky Behavior. That should be 3 easy dubs, right? And so I think Sanguine and Armada are really playing each other out to see who, if Armada beats Sanguine, then we might look at a Sanguine Armada.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work because of tiebreakers, right? Hype Unit has beat Armada Sanguine, but Sanguine Armada have also beat Hype Unit now. So I'm not sure how that would work. But I mean, if you had to guess, like if you had to put money on it, who do you think the 2 teams that will make it out of NASML are?
2 teams that make it out. Definitely think Sanguine and Armada. I would love to put money on Hype, but just the way that things are going right now, I don't have too much faith in them.
All right. I don't want to agree with you. I really don't.
I don't want to be right on this either.
And I think, you know, they should win out. If they lose, they should win out the rest of this season easy 2-0s. If they don't, then there's problems, right? And I don't know, like we said, like from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, like there's a Benny team making, you know, they're stumbling again. There's the Benny team with problems, right? Oh wow, but like if there's one thing I've learned, especially this year, it's like what you see from the outside isn't always the case. There could be multitudes of reasons why it's going on. I mean, talking to Flashpoint, right? Like, you know, they lost, they gave Exordium their first loss, and I was like DMing him with a couple of the guys, and I was like, hey, what the fuck's going on? You guys are better than this. What are you doing? And he's like, yeah, well, we just kind of got overconfident and we played our game instead of playing the meta. Like we tried to force what we wanted to do too much, and we just got overconfident and cocky, and they made us pay for it. I was like, all right, at least that gives me hope that you guys kind of can move forward from here and make corrections. Whereas, you know, I hope that this Hype Unit squad can also do the same. You know what? Actually, looking at who they have to play, right? Cryptic. Cryptic isn't that strong of a roster right now. Like with all those kind of changes that's happened with that squad, it's just not great. So I think.
I got Wraith.
What?
Oh God, we got Wraith. We've got. Oh God.
Oh, there goes Robert.
Here we go. Dab squad coming in. I think Hype Unit, because they have Cryptic, Exilium, and Risky up next. I can't believe that they lose those games. Exilium throws every game. This just is what happens. Like they will win early, but then they will throw, and then Risky just it doesn't have the skill level. And then Cryptic, they just don't have it together. They're not on the same page. It just doesn't look like they're playing together. So I think I will go out and say I think it'll be Sanguine Hype, just because who they have on the schedule going forward. I think they took their L's at a good time. They had such a good strong start that they'll move forward. So
yeah, I definitely do think they have the chance to make it. It's just up to the Sanguine Armada set to see if they force that tiebreaker, or if Sanguine just beat Armada outright and then they actually just auto qualify.
Yeah. If any team, I mean, that Sanguine roster looks really great. I'm hoping that when they get to the playing bracket, we'll have like the full strength squad. We'll get Yarkor there, and I think if they have Yarkor there last time, like even though Oxy popped off, like I think they make a bigger and better run at the whole thing. So you guys need to watch out. Sanguine's gonna come for you. You know how Weekend is losing to Latams.
Oh yeah, like, don't remind me.
Oh, that's a good one. I love you, Kurt. God. So looks like you've got your whole squad back up. Do you need to go?
Yeah, definitely have to start heading out.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, bud. Best of luck moving forward. Super excited to see you square off against LG this week.
Yeah, should be
I've had you guys rated above them, so I believe you guys get this dub. Just don't feed too much, and then like make me my money that I'm gonna bet on you guys. All right, like just do it.
sure.
Don't do it for you. Do it for my money. Right?
Yeah, I would definitely.
Just
I'm gonna try
hang
to
that up
keep
on
it
a
in mind.
sign. Do it for LHS's pocketbook.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you being here, and look forward to seeing you guys go, make a run for Worlds.
Yeah, super excited.
All right. Take care, Mineral.
See you, man.
All right. So now we're going to transition over to our week 10 discussion. Thank you, Mineral, for coming on. That was a lot of fun. It's been a while since we've had a guest come on, so it was really nice to sit there and talk. And then obviously having Ducky and Wraith come in at the end there was fun stuff. Wow. So we've got a lot still to talk about. It was, me and Mineral kind of meandered a little bit, so we'll kind of move through this a little quick. We're going to discuss what happened this last week. In week 10, we had Luminosity face up against Pittsburgh Knights. Pittsburgh Knights, fresh off their roster change, moving Deathwalker from solo to mid, and then bringing Rowe in as the new solo laner. They 3-0 Luminosity, a team that they should beat, but I had questions on if they could do it. They do it. Rowe looks phenomenal in this game. I am super excited for what this team can accomplish now. I think this team is greater than the sum of its parts. I've said that a lot. I've said that about Dig. I've said that about other teams. I've said that in making roster change suggestions to Pittsburgh Knights. I doubted if Rowe, who is an OCE jungler, could make the jump to, SPL solo. And for his first set, he looked really good. Whether or not he can continue to do that against stronger competition than LG, while LG is a strong team in its own right, is yet to be seen. I am excited to see what happens with that squad. Next game, Rival 3-0 SK. SK just don't have a points for Rival. However, is Rival get 3-2'd by LG. This is a Rival team who has struggled at points to finish, right? We saw them at the midseason invitational. They lost to Armada. We saw them at Worlds last year, losing to Trifecta. Obviously constructed a little bit differently, but it's kind of same basic team, right? That team has direct ties. So it's becoming a pattern at this point that they have choking. Basically, E United and the Dig rosters, wherever those teams kind of those base bare bones teams have some choking problems, and it's really interesting to me to see who's going to overcome that. Dig has looked horrendous the last couple of weeks. I don't know if they're going to be able to turn that around. Rival has looked really strong, but then there are these moments of mortality and weakness that they show. And so the question really here is LG for real? Or did Rival just troll? Did they throw and it's completely on them? I don't know which way to lean. I don't think that this automatically means that LG is a world beater. I don't think this means that they are, a dark horse to win worlds. I think they are a good team. And I think this just showcases that on any given day of Smite, a team can win. Any team can beat any team. That underdog mentality. Rival need to be better. Like, this is a game that Rival should have won. They should have put this away. For whatever reason, they don't. and they need to study what went wrong here, because everybody else is going to dissect this. And what did LG do to get these W's off of Rival? Rival is still one of my favorites to win Worlds, but I think this knocks them down a peg. I think this makes Renegades and Spliced really the clear cut 1A and 1B of who will probably win Worlds. And that's kind of not what you want to hear if you're on a side of the Rival. You want to be a part of that conversation. And I just think where they are after losing this set to LG, I don't think they can be in that spot anymore, especially after losing Armada and LG now. Something isn't right, and they need to figure that out before LAN, or just take, whether it was not taking things seriously or if it was just just a bad day. I don't think we need to, the sky isn't falling for Rival, but there are some cracks in the facade that need to be addressed if they want to be the best team that they can be. So looking ahead at our week, we are in week 11. We only have, we are, like I said, last show, we are a month away from World. So we've still got the play-in bracket to do. We've got, we're almost at the end. There are only, let me look at the schedule. There are only, we are in week 11. I want to say there's 13 weeks in a split. Yeah, there are 13 weeks. The last set of games are played on October 25th. So that's 1 week, 2 week. Yeah, 2 weeks. We have 2 weeks of games left. That's it. And then we're getting into the postseason. So every game kind of matters in some cases, right? We still have people who are fighting for qualification, SK and Splice. I think Splice is auto-qualling over SK now. I don't know that for sure. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's how things are rolling up there. We look at our standings going this week. We have Rival on top, Pittsburgh Knights, Dignitas, United, Renegades, Splice, SK, Luminosity, Obey, Space Station Gaming. It's really interesting to look at, who the top teams are. You look at Rival, and then number 2 and 3, Dig and PK, having, they are not better than E United, Renegades, or Splice, but having those wins early, not having their struggles until late in the season, beating the teams at the bottom, they've kind of been able to get to where they are. This is not, if you were just to look at where the teams were in the standings, you would not have an accurate representation of the league. Whether or not, I think PK and Dig kind of change. PK is the edge case, right? They've just had a roster change. They had a role swap. What are they going to be able to do moving forward is kind of unknown. Dignitas, on the other hand, they have struggled at playing early game. That has been the entirety of this year. Even when they were winning, they struggled early and just beat you late. And they're just not able to make that same strategy work for them. So at this point, I think PK with Rose solo probably has a better shot at doing something at Worlds than Dignitas does. Dignitas not only has to get over them not being able to play the early game in a meta that heavily gives leads to early pressure, they've got to get over the fact that every year the core of this roster has choked and struggled when it mattered most going into Worlds. That's a lot to overcome for Dignitas, and I don't know that they have it in them. It sucks to see them kind of go down the same path that they have the last few years, but that's what it looks like it's going to happen. Going into this week, we have Splice E United, Dignitas Renegades, Dignitas E United, and Obey Luminosity. A lot of good games here. Splice United, we'll see if United is for real. If they can beat Splice, they are a top team. But can they do it? I believe if I'm a betting man, I put my money on Splice. They are the known commodity here. They have been a top team. They have been dominant. Everybody knows how to beat Splice. Renegade showed you how to do it. You shut down Baskin, you shut down Cyclone. In this case, it'll be shut down Cyclone and shut down Solar Patrol. You can do that and you make their mid 3v3 beat you. You have a shot. Splice have undoubtedly made their mid 3v3 better. Scream, Vin, and Roar have been playing lights out. They very well could steamroll over you. I think Splice matches up better against the United than probably some other top teams. And I think this probably goes Splice's way. I think that's pretty easy for me to say until proven otherwise. Renegades and Dignitas. Barring Dignitas reconfiguring how they play Smite game, Renegades wins this. I think Splice United probably goes 3-1. I think United can squeeze a game out of there. Renegades, Dignitas probably goes 3-0. I just think Renegades is that much better of a team than Dignitas is right now. They're playing Smite game at a much better, higher level. Look at Dignitas E United. I go E United. I think E United. I think this could go all the way. I think this, if I had to bet on it, I'd probably say E United goes 3-2 because I think E United still struggles a little bit. I think Dignitas can take advantage of that. This very well could be 3-0 for E United. I pick E United over Dignitas here. Dignitas just has not had it. They've lost it this phase, and even in going into mid-season last phase, I think they were losing it. So United, strong team on the up and up. I think they have just cemented themselves as top tier. Where they are at in the top tier, who knows? We'll find out this week. Our last game is going to be Obey Alliance and Luminosity Gaming. This is a game that won't be as interesting as it could be, if only because these two teams aren't playing for Worlds. They're not playing for seeding. If they win or lose, it doesn't quite matter because they're going to placement bracket regardless. And they can't really control any of the seeding there, right? They're going to get decent seeding because they're the SPL teams. So that takes an edge off, right? If both of these teams were playing for a Worlds qualification spot, this game becomes amazing. And I think this game, I think every game here has potential to be just lights out, slobber knocker, amazing. But Obey Luminosity is going to be really fun to watch just to see who is the better team. Obey won the last time out against LG, I believe. So Obey has been the better team. LG's taken some wins off of better opponents, I believe, than Obey has. So it'll be interesting to see which team has progressed the most since they last met. I have to believe that Obey is going to win this game. I think Obey has just been playing at a higher level currently. So you have Obey beat Dig, and then LG beat Rival, though. Rival's the better team, but I think Rival threw more than LG won, which kind of discredits LG a little bit, and I don't want to do that, but I do believe that is more the case. So Obey LG should be a good game. I expect this one to go all 5 games. I think it'll be a 3-2 to go to Obey, and we'll see, another breakout game from Maswal. If Weekend continues his good game streak, and then Ducky and Wowie and Mineral all play really well, this should be a decently, good time for Obey. LG, on the other hand, they do have a lot of talent. I'm interested to see what they kind of break out. It's hard to say that either one of these squads is going to break out anything really juicy, especially with us only having 2 weeks left of pro play. It just doesn't look like that's in the cards. You want to hold on to as much as you can going into the open bracket. So might be a little stale in that regards, playing the kind of the same things. But should be a good game. There's not a game that won't be good this week, and that's not always the case. So again, reiterate: Splice over E United, Renegades over Dig, E United over Dig, and Obey over LG. Those are my predictions. We'll see if they come true. And that's it. That is our 1 year anniversary show. Thank you everybody for coming out. We had a great time. Thank you to Mineral and Obey Alliance for coming on the show. Thank you UGC for having me on today. And every other week is some of the most fun I have. Keeps me on my edge. Keeps me more involved in the Smite scene too, which is always really nice. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time around the Battleground, everybody.